The town of Black Hollow had always been a place of whispers, where the fog curled like smoke through the cobblestone streets and the past never quite stayed buried. Dr. Eleanor Voss had come here for the history, but what she found was a mystery wrapped in silence. It began with the diary. Tucked away in the Black Hollow Historical Society's archives, its brittle pages smelled of dust and something faintly metallic, like old blood. The entry, dated October 17th, 1923, was written in a frantic hand, the ink blotted as if the writer's fingers had trembled. We followed the lights. The street wasn't there yesterday, but tonight it gleams like it's been waiting. The shop windows are lit, but no one's inside. Thomas swears he heard piano music from the saloon. The others are going in. I'll stay to record this, just in case. The sentence ended mid-word. Eleanor's breath caught. She knew the town's legends, of course, the whispered tales of Larimore Lane, a phantom street said to appear once every century, beckoning the unlucky inside. But this was proof. That night, her nephew Liam and his friends, fueled by teenage bravado and cheap beer, dared each other to find the spot where the sidewalk abruptly ended near the old cemetery. It's just a stupid ghost story, Liam had scoffed when Eleanor warned him. But at 3 a.m., his frantic call crackled through her phone. "Aunt Ellie, something's—" before the line went dead. By dawn, the search party found only Liam's phone lying in the grass, its screen cracked. Next to it, a single cobblestone, smooth and worn, where no cobblestone should be. When Eleanor picked it up, it was warm, almost pulsing. And the strangest thing? The town's oldest map, spread across the sheriff's desk, clearly showed Larimore Lane, right where Liam vanished. But the street hadn't existed in Black Hollow for over 100 years. The police called it a runaway case. The townsfolk avoided Eleanor's eyes. She knew better. The Black Hollow Gazette's archives reeked of mildew and yellowed paper. Eleanor's fingers left trails in the dust as she pulled brittle newspapers from 1923. The headline screamed in bold, archaic type. 5 local men vanish on Larimore Lane. Search party finds nothing but shoes. Below it, a grainy photograph showed a mist-choked street that shouldn't exist. The shadows in the image seemed to shift if stared at too long. Marcus Cole, a journalist with a fading reputation and a whiskey habit, leaned over her shoulder. "You don't actually believe—" "Look at the date," Eleanor interrupted. "October 18th, 1923, exactly 100 years ago yesterday. Reverend Elias Carter, who'd penned the final warning, was found a week later, alive but mute, his tongue cut out at the root. Every disappearance left behind footwear, soles worn thin as if the victims had walked for miles in moments. A 1923 invoice for lantern maintenance, Larimore Lane, paid in full despite the street being demapped in 1821. Old Man Hargrove, the town's reclusive clockmaker, sealed their dread. His shop smelled of cedar and camphor, his walls lined with timepieces, all deliberately stopped at 11:59. "It's not a street," he whispered, pressing a rusted pocket watch into Eleanor's palm. The engraving read, "Time eats all but the hungry." "It's a throat, and last night, it swallowed." As they left, Marcus laughed nervously. Senile old coot. But when Eleanor checked the watch later, its hands, frozen for decades, had begun to move. The air turned thick with the scent of burning kerosene and wet stone. Eleanor knew it before she saw it, the way the streetlights dimmed as if drained of power, the way the shadows pooled too deeply at the end of Maple Street, where the pavement should have ended. But tonight, the road kept going. Larimore Lane stretched before them, glowing under the sickly yellow light of gas lamps that hadn't been used in a century. The buildings stood pristine, Victorian storefronts with frosted glass windows, a saloon with swinging doors, a tailor's shop with mannequins dressed in moth-eaten finery. It was a perfect snapshot of 1923, untouched by time. The bricks pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. The shadows between buildings didn't just linger, they twitched. And the air carried a sound just beneath hearing, like a phonograph record played backward at half speed. Eleanor stepped forward, her boot clicking against the cobblestones. The moment she did, the street reacted. The gas lamps flared brighter, casting long-reaching shadows. A shop door creaked open, an invitation or a challenge. From the saloon, piano music tinkled, a jaunty tune that dissolved into atonal notes, not from the buildings, not from the dark, from inside their heads. "You're late," the voice sighed, a chorus of 100 forgotten throats. "We've been waiting." Marcus backed away, but Eleanor's gaze locked onto the tailor's shop. There, in the window, stood Liam, her Liam, dressed in a suit that hadn't been in style for 100 years. His eyes were glassy, his smile too wide. "Aunt Ellie," he mouthed, though the voice that slithered into her skull wasn't his. "Come inside. We have so much to show you." And then, the church bell tolled midnight, the street shuddered, and the real horror began. The church bell's first toll shook the ground like a dying man's rattle. By the second chime, the cobblestones began to move. Eleanor lunged for Liam, her fingers closing around his wrist, but his skin was cold, too cold. His head lolled toward her, his grin stretching wider than any human mouth should. "You're already too late," the thing wearing Liam's face whispered, except the voice came from behind her, from the saloon's swinging doors, from the hissing gas lamps, from the very air itself. Marcus grabbed Eleanor's arm. "Run! Now!" They bolted as the street woke around them, shop windows shattered outward, not from breaking glass, but from things pressing against them from inside, pale, elongated fingers, faces with too many eyes, shapes that slithered like smoke given form. The cobblestones peeled up like scales, revealing pulsating flesh beneath. The street wasn't paved with stone, it was armored. The piano in the saloon played itself, the tune warping into a funeral dirge as the bell tolled a fourth time. A shadow unspooled from an alley, a towering mass of writhing darkness with Liam's voice. "You can't leave, Aunt Ellie. The street remembers you now." Marcus shoved Eleanor forward as the shadow lashed out. She stumbled, fell, and her hand landed on Reverend Carter's rusted pocket watch, discarded in the gutter. Its hand spun wildly backward. Fifth toll. The street convulsed. Buildings bent like trees in a storm. The sky above Larimore Lane fractured like broken glass, revealing a yawning void where time itself unraveled. Sixth toll. Eleanor dragged Marcus toward the vanishing edge of the lane, where the real world still existed. But the street fought back. The ground rippled, throwing them to their knees. The shadow that was not Liam loomed, its form flickering between boy and monstrosity. Seventh toll. Eleanor did the only thing left. She smashed the pocket watch against the cobblestones. Time stuttered. For one impossible second, Larimore Lane flickered like a dying film reel, and in that instant, she and Marcus ran, hurling themselves past the last gas lamp just as 12th toll. The street vanished behind them with a sound like 100 doors slamming shut. The police found them at dawn, half frozen in the cemetery, their clothes reeking of kerosene and old blood. Liam's sneakers sat neatly placed at the edge of the sidewalk, laces tied together. Inside, his feet were still in them. Marcus never spoke of that night again, but sometimes, at exactly midnight, his right hand twitches, fingers plucking at invisible piano keys, and in Eleanor's dreams, the pocket watch still ticks. The newspapers called it a tragedy. The town called it closure. But Eleanor knew the truth. Nothing ever really ends in Black Hollow. 3 weeks after Larimore Lane vanished, the nightmares began. Eleanor would wake at 3:17 a.m. every night, her skin clammy, her ears ringing with the distant echo of a piano playing that same warped saloon tune. At first, she told herself it was just trauma. Then she noticed the mud on her floor, thick, black, and reeking of kerosene. The same mud that had clung to her shoes when she'd fled the street. Marcus wasn't faring any better. He'd taken to wearing gloves, even indoors. When Eleanor confronted him, he reluctantly peeled one off. His fingertips were turning translucent, the bones beneath visible like frosted glass. "It's spreading," he whispered. "I can still hear them singing." Then, on the 1-month anniversary of Liam's disappearance, Eleanor found the first cobblestone in her garden, warm to the touch, pulsing. That night she dreamt of Larimore Lane, but this time she wasn't an outsider looking in. She was standing behind the counter of the tailor's shop, her hands stitching something that squirmed in her grip. Liam stood across from her, his smile now stitched shut with black thread. "You'll be back," he mouthed, and the entire street chorused with him. When she woke, her palms were bleeding. The pocket watch she'd shattered? Its pieces had vanished from the evidence locker. Old Man Hargrove's shop was found empty, every clock inside smashed, except one. A grandfather clock in the back, its hands frozen at 11:59. And in the town archives, a new page had appeared in Reverend Carter's diary, written in Eleanor's handwriting. "Time isn't a line, it's a noose, and Larimore Lane is always hungry." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.